I talked about it in my kitty dog video. I talked about it in my Flippy X Flaky video. It's time to make a big video. When I say big, I mean stupid little rant video talking about it in full detail. Pro shipping. We all love to talk about it. We all love to spout any kind of take about pro shipping that we think truly in our hearts. That was a really weirdly spoken sentence. So, pro shipping has many meanings, if you didn't know. There are many meanings of the term pro shipper, but the way that people, truly at this current time identify a pro shipper as is, and I'm not going off like a sole written definition here. I'm going off of like the general definition that everyone kind of acknowledges. Basically, somebody who thinks that any ship, regardless of its moral, regardless of how moral it is or how harmful it is fine. That's what a pro shipper is. They're pro ship, they are pro shipping, specifically shipping of anything no matter what. Now, not everyone, but most people kind of acknowledge that this is not a good thing. And I can explain why it's bad, and I'm gonna do that very briefly because everybody has already done that, and that's not really what I'm here to talk about. I'm not here to convince you that pro shipping is bad because I'm already assuming most of my fan base understands why it's bad because anti-pro shippers are, people who don't like pro shippers is the majority of people that I think are in my fan base. Most people in my fan base are people who are not pro shippers and who do not support being pro shippers. So I'm gonna assume that basically everyone watching this video kind of understands why pro shipping is wrong, but before I actually explain what's wrong about it, I am going to explain what shipping is. Just to I know, everybody probably knows what shipping is, but I'm gonna explain it very vaguely anyway. Not vaguely, but I'm gonna explain it very briefly, that's what I meant. Anyway, just in case, shipping in this context is basically a romantic or sexual pairing between two or more characters. Whether it's canon or not, usually it's referring to non-canon. If you don't know what canon is, I'm not gonna explain everything to you, okay? But basically, it is pairing two characters romantically or sexually. Basically saying these two characters would be great in a relationship. That's basically what shipping is. And pro shipping is people who think that you can ship any two characters regardless of anything. And you may be thinking, yeah, whatever. But then you kind of realize what this truly means for pro shippers and for the shipping community. That means that usually shipping pedophilia, incest, anything of that sort is totally okay and fine. And that is not okay because it very clearly promotes those things, as incest and pedophilia are unfortunately things that happen a shit ton in real life, and promoting that is not good. Saying this adult and this tiny child, yeah, they'd be so good in a relationship, OMG, it's definitely not good. It is definitely the opposite of good. It is bad. It is promoting those kinds of things and making people think that that kind of thing is okay, especially children. And that's why people like Kitty Dog exist. They see these things and they think that these things are totally chill, and then they follow in their footsteps. And that's how basically the pro shipping community is born. People see other people doing these things, they're desensitized to things such as pedophilia and incest due to pro-shipping and being in that community, and then they follow in their footsteps and become a pro-shipper and may even excuse actual real-life cases of pedophilia or incest. Who is making that noise outside of my room? But, yeah, so that's why pro-shipping is bad. I think we all know that, you know. But, people treat this pro-shipping phenomenon like it's black and white. It's not. What is and isn't pro-shipping is not a very clear line. It's very blurred. Because, in my opinion, what is and isn't considered pro-shipping is how realistic the scenarios are. Now, you may be thinking, like, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Let me explain, but before I explain, I'm gonna go get water because my throat really hurts. Now that I am properly hydrated, let me explain what I mean by this line I draw between pro-shipping and just shipping things. Just fiction, you know? Because one thing, before I explain that, though, I need to explain the biggest thing that pro-shippers hold dear to their heart is fiction does not affect reality. And there are a lot of people, specifically anti-shippers, which an anti-shipper is basically somebody who is severely, I don't know, severely isn't the right word, who is heavily against pro-shippers and makes that very known. You'll know when you, like, if you know an anti-shipper, you'll know they're an anti-shipper. Like, you can feel it in their blood. They are an anti-shipper. Like, it is, oh my god, they're very serious about it, which you know, it makes sense. But, basically, pro-shipping, the thing with pro-shipping is that fiction does affect reality, but it doesn't affect reality as much as people would like to think. It's very hard to explain. Because the thing is, pro-shippers, they believe fiction does not affect reality ever. Like, at least when it comes to shipping. Anti-shippers, most of them, not all of them, but the majority, believe that fiction always affects reality. You have to be extremely careful with what you do in fiction. Which is really stupid, seeing as, like, that completely invalidates a shit ton of media that a lot of people enjoy. But, you know, I believe, I'm sorry for that long pause, I believe that it's not black and white. It's not, this always affects reality, this never affects reality. No. It is, fiction affects reality depending on how close to reality it is. That's what I believe. I'm in the middle. I'm not an anti-shipper. I'm not a pro-shipper by any means. I'm in the middle. Now, if you make, let's say you ship a 5-year-old character with a 20-year-old character. Let's say you do that. And you draw, like, you ship that, you draw art of it, you know, whatever. That is pro-shipping. And it's pro-shipping because pedophilia is something that is very serious that happens all the fucking time. 20-year-olds, like, take advantage of young children all the fucking time. It sucks, but it's a thing that happens. And that's why you need to be careful with portraying that kind of thing in fiction. Obviously, if you're portraying it as a kind of story plot, and first of all, you have to be very careful of how you portray it. And how visually you portray it. But if you're doing it as a way to kind of speak against pedophilia, that's not pro-shipping. That's not you shipping characters by saying that these two characters are good in a relationship. That's you doing something for the sake of a story plot or something. I don't consider that pro-shipping. Uh, but that would be pro-shipping because it's something that happens a lot in reality. But with let's see. I'm gonna use my own characters as an example, of course. Every time I do this, I get canceled. Uh, but in all seriousness, if you hypothetically, hypothetically make a situation between two fictional characters where one character has a kink that is revolved around cannibalizing their partner, and that is not pro-shipping. Because first of all, if it's consensual, technically in this fictional setting, it's not really a toxic relationship. In real life, yeah. But the thing is, that doesn't really happen. People don't, like, sure, there's instances of that happening very rarely. You know, there was a whole, like, fucking website dedicated to people, like, wanting to be murdered and eaten, I think. um, but that's not really that's not really a thing that would affect reality. If you make that scenario with your characters or with any fictional character, that is not going to affect reality unless somebody like really unstable gets a hold of it or something. But even then, that's not really your fault. Um, it's you see what I mean? Depending on how realistic the subject of pro shipping or reasoning for people considering it pro shipping is, that is how I think we should start considering whether something's pro shipping or not. Now, here's the thing, that's not like, I'm not the baseline for opinions or anything. I don't think that my opinion is like perfect. I think that people should just kind of keep it in mind, maybe keep it in the back of their head. Think like, maybe just think about it, think about how valid they personally think that this way of seeing like, pro shipping as opposed to just regular shipping. I think that would be beneficial for the internet. That's what I think. I think that if people just kind of thought about it a little bit, that would, be something that's beneficial. Now that I've kind of distinguished what I think that pro shipping is and isn't, I want to distinguish my opinion on people being legit pro shippers, as in shipping incest, shipping pedophilia, shipping all that stuff. My opinion, while it is along the lines of that's bad, it does seem to be very different from most anti-shippers, which is why one of the few reasons why I don't consider myself an anti-shipper. I don't think that pro-shippers are automatically pedophiles. Now, I thought that saying pro-shippers aren't automatically pedophiles by default, I didn't think that that'd be such a hot take, but I got absolutely blasted for that on Twitter, which is weird because I was stating an objective fact. I wasn't stating an opinion. I was stating an objective fact, something that I thought everyone knew. Now, I talked about the definition of a pro shipper. A pro shipper is somebody who believes that shipping anything is fine regardless of it being incestual or pedophilic or anything of that sort. Now, shipping, like I said, and this is kind of why the definition of shipping is kind of important in this situation, shipping is saying the two characters would be good for a relationship. It's not you simping for the characters, and it's not you saying that you find that ship to be attractive to you specifically. That's why you can ship a child and another child in a purely cutesy romantic way. That's why that kind of thing is okay. That doesn't mean that you're romantically or sexually attracted to the shipping subjects. That just means that you think they'd be in a cute relationship. That is why shipping minors is okay, as long as it's two minors and as long as it stays completely wholesome and not NSFW. You can ship characters without thinking the characters are attractive, and that includes a minor and an adult. Does that make shipping a minor and an adult okay? Of course not. Obviously, like I said, pro shipping bad. But it doesn't make it pedophilic. Are pro shippers sometimes pedophiles? Of course. Literally anybody is a pedophile. Do you know how many people, how many YouTubers got canceled for being pedophiles? Since 2019? Does that mean that YouTubers are all pedophiles? No. I hope not. I'm a YouTuber, oh no. But yeah, being a pro shipper does not mean you're a pedophile, and if you don't know, you should know, but a lot of people do misunderstand the definition of a pedophile. A pedophile is a person 16 or older that is attracted to prepubescent children. Meaning that, and when I say attracted, I mean sexually or in some cases romantically, but I think that's more of a kind of a more complex subject. But yeah, just letting you know that just because somebody ships a minor with an adult does not mean that they wish to be in that kind of relationship. And what's even funnier is that, well, yeah, maybe you can maybe you can excuse calling adult pro shippers pedophiles. No, you can't. But in this magical maybe little world and so and very in very super dedicated anti-shippers heads, maybe. But there are people who call minor pro shippers, and when I say minor I mean under the age of 18, or I guess in this case under the age of 16, pedophiles. People are calling young children pedophiles. Do you see why I have an issue with this yet? One thing that I want to make very clear is that the word pedophile, and I made this clear in many, many, many videos. I've made so many videos where I've talked about how the word pedophile should not be used in specific ways, and how people calling people pedophiles in certain situations is dumb and is misinformed. We should not be using the word pedophile as just a casual word we call people. It is a very serious thing that we need to do actual research on and not attack people on Twitter for saying literal facts. I'm sorry, I'm still fucking salty about that. I'm still salty about being bashed on Twitter for having an opinion that is literally, first of all, it's not even an opinion. For stating a fact, so I'm not even gonna call it an opinion. I quite literally got bashed on Twitter for stating a fact, and anti-shippers fucking came at me. Oh, it was great. It was great, honestly. But yeah, next time somebody says that all pro shippers are pedophiles, or they call a pro shipper a pedophile without actually, any proof that they are, maybe, think about, before you agree with them, think about that. Ask them if there's any proof of them actually being a pedophile, and if there is, then yeah, they're a pedophile, but not because they're a pro shipper, because they're an asshole. Sure, maybe them being a pro shipper could, maybe their pro shipping could be a sign of that, but it's not a sign that automatically means everyone who pro ships is a pedophile, especially the fact that most people who pro ship nowadays are young children who do not understand the world fully. When I was younger, I genuinely thought that real life serial killers were so cool. Does that make me a serial killer supporter now? No. they're kids. They're going to grow out of it. And yes, we should be pushing them lightly into the right direction. We should be saying, this is why pro-shipping is bad, and this is why you should stop. If they don't listen, instead of harassing them, we should leave them be, and they will hopefully eventually grow out of it. Most people do. I've had lots of problematic opinions when I was really young that I no longer agree with, and I didn't even need anyone to tell me that they were bad. I just grew out of them I just grew out of them on my own. And while not everyone's gonna be like that, a lot of people will. I know from experience that a lot of children grow out of problematic opinions. Again, I thought that real life serial killers were super cool and quirky when I was younger. I thought that creepypastas were real for God's sake. I was a dumb child. I was a child I was one of those kids who thought that being a serial killer would be so quirky. I was that kid. I was that kid. But I've obviously grown out of that, despite me still keeping the character that I had in that phase, but we don't talk about that. But yeah, I'm making an example of this to kind of show that kids grow out of this. Kids grow out of problematic mindsets, and while yes, we should be pushing them lightly in the right direction, we should not be harassing them. And you may be thinking, oh, you saying that young pro shippers are getting harassed, that's probably, bit of an overstatement. No. I have seen people saying that all pro shippers, no matter their age, should genuinely go, off themselves. I am not joking. I am not saying a haha funny. I am saying something that I've genuinely seen. People will genuinely tell young pro shippers to off themselves or to harm themselves. It is actually disgusting that people will talk about how much fiction affects reality, but then do things that will affect reality more than what those people are doing. My opinion on pro-shipping is that while pro-shipping affects reality, it doesn't affect reality enough that we should be telling people to off themselves over it, and that telling people to off themselves over it affects reality a lot more than what those people are doing. Does that mean that they should keep doing it? Of course not. I think that pro-shipping is bad, and I encourage any pro-shipper to stop that behavior. Does that mean that we should be harassing people over it? No. If you are an anti-shipper who tells pro-shippers to kill themselves no matter their age, you are doing more harm than what you claim pro-shippers are doing. I'm not saying that pro-shippers don't do harm. I'm not saying that pro-shippers are totally cool. I'm saying that harassing pro-shippers and making pro-shippers feel unsafe and cyberbullying pro-shippers, all that is doing is making you look like an asshole and is making that child see anti-shippers as the bad guy. I talked about this in my kitty dog video. If you harass pro-shippers, you are a part of the problem, especially when they're young, when they're especially under 13, under 18 even. Teenagers are stupid, and that's coming from a 15-year-old. You are a part of the problem if you are harassing pro-shippers and telling them to off themselves. You are making pro-shippers, you're making young pro-shippers look at the anti-shipping community, and they're saying, oh, that community is super toxic and is telling people to kill themselves. That is a community I don't want to be in, and is making them push more towards being a pro-shipper. That's what happened to Kitty Dog, which if you haven't seen my Kitty Dog video, go check it out. I'll link it in the description if I'm not an idiot and can remember. But, yeah. Pro-shipping is not the end of the world. The world isn't gonna end because a few children are pro-shippers. We should be talking to those children and being like, hey, what you're doing isn't good. Here's why it's not good. And if they don't listen, then that sucks. You know, report them if they're doing things against the site, against any social media site's rules. You know, uh, you can, block them, you know, all that, but just don't harass them. You can explain that what they're doing isn't okay, but harassing them is just, you're a part of the problem. If you harass, and I'm gonna say this again so people understand, if you harass pro shippers, especially when they're young, you are a part of the problem. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you next time. Goodbye.